However, in evolution, we're supposed to have come from primates. And that's an interesting conversation because we haven't been able to figure out exactly what the link is. In that version of reality, what they're discovering is that basically every 500,000 years we move from Neopithecus to Java man to Peking man to eventually Neanderthal and then to Cro-Magnon man and then to Homo sapien, etc. However, there's some challenges with this because it doesn't quite fit the existence of Homo sapiens. So there are a lot of unanswered questions that we still don't know in these great mysteries of human evolution. And in fact, we know that at a female level, we've traced what we believe human ancestry back to someone called Lucy. And Lucy really was the first female. She was found in Africa. She was discovered in 1974. She was composed of hundreds of different bone fragments comprising about 40% of what's called Australopithecus, which would be our great ancestor. Now she's dated to about 3.2 million years old, and she's thought to be the common ancestors of all humans. The skeleton presents a small skull akin to a non-hominid apes, plus evidence of a walking gait that was bipedal and upright, akin to that of humans. So this is sort of current anthropology. Now, even more current is this. There's a genetic study that feels like they found a male that we are all connected to going back around 200,000 to 300,000 years ago. If it's 200,000 years ago and Zecharia Sitchin's translations of the Sumerian cuneiform text is accurate, then that would kind of put it right in that pocket. So they're talking between 200 and 300,000 years that there was some kind of a male gene that was given, which would have probably been Enki's gene, to the human race to move us forward. However, anthropology believes that humans emerged from only one branch of the primate kingdom. So you can sort of see here, we've got the orangutans, we've got the gorillas, we've got the chimpanzees. I'm not really sure who this guy is, but basically the question is, why haven't these guys evolved, and how come only one branch has evolved? Well, that would tend to imply that there was some kind of intervention. And it suggests really outside manipulation. So if you actually look back at this, we've got I can't even see this one, Ardipithecus, Australopithecus, another version of Australopithecus, Sedia, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo sapien. If you could see these, basically they change about every 500,000 years. However, what happens when Homo sapien comes in, he comes in way too early. In other words, it should be another 500,000 years, really, or more, or a little less, before we showed up. Again, implying that there's been some kind of manipulation. Now, of course, how many of you are familiar with Zecharia Sitchin's work? Zecharia Sitchin was a Jewish scholar who was one of about 10,000 people in the world that could read Sumerian cuneiform texts. In the 1820s, 1830s, there was a city called Nineveh that was discovered, I think, in Iraq or Iran, one of those places. And of course, this is talked about in the Bible. And we uncovered hundreds of thousands stone cuneiform texts. We found 22,000 of these in the temple precinct. Now, a lot of the rest of them were things like, not the temple precinct, were things like who got married, who owned what land, all the kind of normal day-to-day activities. But in the temple precinct, they talked openly about the fact that about 435,000 years ago, these very tall, long-lived, extraterrestrial human beings came down to Earth. They had a problem with their own ozone layer on their planet. Like we've had problems with ours. Their scientists figured out that if they could suspend gold foil, it would block the cosmic rays. Well, interestingly enough, we've discovered if we put gold foil sheeting on the windows of our astronauts' capsules, it protects them from the cosmic rays. So very similar technology. So the problem was they didn't have enough gold. So they basically came here to try to mine gold. And they were mining for several 100,000 years. And they found huge deposits down in South Africa. And this is the work of Michael Tellinger. Michael Tellinger is a white South African guy who's discovered, tens of hundreds of these mines, gold mining shafts down there. And so it seems like that there's a lot to this story that is true. Well, after a while, their own people got tired of working in the mines. They rebelled. This is according to the translations of Zecharia Sitchin of these Sumerian cuneiform text. And so the gods were, what can we do? Either we let our planet perish and we don't get any more gold, or we get some help. How can we get help? So they looked around, found a more primitive form of man. They worked for a really long time to kind of jumpstart our DNA. Eventually they did. Apparently we weren't the brightest things in the world, but they got us to work for them. And then over time, they kind of fell in love with us. They really thought we were great. And so then they upped our DNA to another level, the Homo sapiens sapien. And this is sort of the Adam and Eve story, where Adam and Eve were taught all this incredible knowledge by the gods and honored. And so it's a very big conversation, but this is what the Anunnaki are. And the Anunnaki were just very much like us. I mean, you had ones that were very enlightened beings who really loved humanity and were really working for the evolution and the consciousness of humankind. And you had ones that were, hey, let's just get them down here, do the science, get the goal, and go home. They had others that were like, they're kind of slow, short, and stupid. Let's just put them to work. Okay, so you had every range, from those who adored us to those who were like, just, my God, do I have to put up with these humans that are breeding like rabbits and making a whole bunch of noise, like rowdy children, taking over the whole planet. And so there are even stories in the Sumerian cuneiform texts about how the head honcho god got so annoyed by humans that he sent the flood to actually wipe us out. And then one of the other gods intervened and basically saved humanity and the DNA of all these different species, kind of the Noah's Ark story. So it's a really kind of big conversation. So that's only one of the species that's interacted with us.